listening to the Latina Leadership Podcast, the podcast made for Latinas by Latinas. Get comfortable, amiga, and enjoy the conversations.
Hola, and welcome to another episode of the Latina Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Angelica Casares. On today's episode, we have Gabriela. Gabriela, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here and here to share anything and everything.
Yeah. How do you pronounce your last name? Heido?
You got it. Heido.
Heido.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, as usual, every appearance that we get from every guest comes on here, and I absolutely let them introduce themselves to the audience or introduce themselves to our listeners or our viewers or what may have you, those who are very much interested in the conversation we have to have today. So, with that being said, please, who are you and what do you do?
Saker, I am indigenous Mayan Guatemalan woman. I was born in Guatemala, and I moved here almost 18 years ago. I am a Waldorf early childhood teacher and a Spanish Waldorf teacher, and I do many things. I study permaculture. I am a beekeeper. And most important, and what has transformed my life in the past years, I started doing mountain biking. So that's, and I think the most important, I am a mom of two beautiful children. And I think that's who am I in very few words.
So I do have here, eres de Guatemala, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Guatemala City from the capital. And then you moved to Los Angeles, and then you moved your family to Colorado.
Yes.
How did you end up in Los Angeles?
Let's go a little bit back.
Okay.
I volunteered with a doctor doing medical missions in Guatemala for 2 years. And then when I graduated college, I was like, I'm going to take a sabbatical year and travel. So I came to New Orleans, but I came 1 week and a half before the Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. So we evacuated to Nashville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Nashville, Tennessee when my husband came across my life. And then we started dating, and I needed to go back to Guatemala because I was under a tourist visa. And he came with me, and a year and a half later, we got married. And then I moved to Los Angeles, where he was from, or he's from.
Okay. So the love of your life took you to Los Angeles. You said you were a teacher. What kind of teacher? I don't know if I understood it. You were...
So first, in Guatemala, I graduated on industrial and organizational psychology. So I was working as a human resources manager. When I come here, that I cannot do much because I have to wait for everything to get aligned. I get a job. Waldorf education, Waldorf, that is pronounced in Spanish, is an alternative and very holistic education. It was founded by a German guy after World War I. They compare it a lot with Montessori school. So actually, when I live in Nashville, I volunteer in a Montessori immersion Spanish school. So I got to experience Montessori for like 4 months. And then I encountered Waldorf education, and you have to study for 3 years to certify in everything you want to do. So I studied for 3 years to become a Spanish Waldorf teacher, and then I am about to be done with my 3 years, that has been like 8 years, to be an early childhood Waldorf education. So yeah, that's what I do.
Let's talk a little bit about your past before we start talking about today. So, how is life like for you there in Guatemala?
I think after I moved into the U.S., unfortunately, but fortunately, I learned more about the history of my country. I was born during the internal war in Guatemala that lasted 36 years. So it was very city-like, school, home to school. And I did not spend too much time in the outdoors because it was not safe. I am the older one of three. I have a sister and a brother. So I pretty much like school, home, college, home, work. So it was very repetitive. It was very like the same thing over and over. until I literally come to the US and meet my husband. So when we go back to Guatemala after I meet him, we actually went backpacking in my country. And that's the first time ever that I went backpacking in my own country with him. And that, of course, sparked a light. And then I went backpacking to Mexico and like I went to Honduras. I feel like sometimes you just need that light, like a candle, like someone says, we can do this, let's do it together. Of course, most of the trips I did them by myself because he was in the US and I was in Guatemala. But it changed my life. Those 6 months in the US, thankfully, in those 6 months, I met him. And that really helped me and spark and inspire me to do things I have never felt encouraged to do.
So you experienced your country, your own country later in life with somebody else. And so as you're viewing the country through somebody else's eyes at this point, and you're getting to understand what Guatemala is and what its ancient history is, and it developed you differently from my understanding, from what I'm hearing you say. How was that changing for you? What was it differently that you started to see it differently now as an adult than you did as a kid?
I feel like when you have someone who has never been in your country, you want to show them the best of your country that you did not knew was there because you see it as every day, something that you do every day. Let's put an example. A dish is totally different to the enchiladas you imagine. It's a dish that is called enchilada in Guatemala. And it's literally a volcano of food piled on top of everything. And then my husband tries to impress me eating it, and it does not work. He didn't impress me. So it's just getting the joy of food, smells, colors, beauty. He's a photographer, so he's taking amazing, beautifuls of my country. So I come and see, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, we have this. And again, like I said, I want to translate everything for him. He has questions, and I want to learn more about it because he inspires me to do that. And I think, like anything in life, when you find that person that can be your support and your encouragement, you just go for it and start literally. The first step is a little bit, you're afraid of the first step, and maybe the second one, maybe 10 steps, you're still like, but after a while, you start walking. And
okay, so that's good. It's good to understand a lot of that. Let's talk. I want to cover a little bit because I do want to cover this much because I do want to. Cuando escuchamos las mujeres latinas o escuchamos las mujeres indígenas o mujeres que no sinceramente somos de like extracurricular activities, right? We do things when we want to, and yes, we do for enjoying them, but it's not something necessarily, not that we don't take it seriously, but it's kind of a passing time, right? But you found a passion. You found an enormous passion in what you're doing today, which is mountain biking. How did you get into mountain biking?
So I have a 9-year-old kid. He was born in California. And it's just interesting how my kids have pushed those buttons in a good way. So when he's born, I told my husband, I'm sorry, I'm not raising my kid in this state. It's too much for me. So we moved to Colorado. Here in the middle of summer, I have to suffer winter. Not that I didn't have winter in Nashville, but being a mom, the new state with winters, it was hard. Then my daughter was born 3 days before lockdown in 2020. So we both of my kids have been home birth with comadrona. So I was kind of like sure that regardless of what was happening out there, I was quote unquote safe. She's born and the midwife comes and tells me all the rules of the game have been changed. You have to come and visit me in the office. And I'm like, since that's what I had, a midwife in play. Well, because I always wanted a midwife, but because I was expecting you to come to me and not me taking my kid in the middle of the pandemic to come and see you. But of course, I needed to do it. So after that, we became very hermits. My husband is the only child and he doesn't have that family, and all my family is in Guatemala. So we don't have a support. Like there is no way he can get sick because he's the only one who works, and there is no way I can get sick because I take care of the kids, kind of thing. Like he works from home. So it's like we share taking care of the house and the kids. But so we became very hermits. We dedicated our time completely to our children in our garden for the first 2 years. And then they had Clínica para Latinas, and, which is through COMBA. COMBA is the Colorado Mountain Bike Association, and is given by 3 beautiful human beings. And they spark that joy of being in the outdoors, of being with Latina women and women who empower you. So I get a $300 bike that doesn't work for me. And when my husband sees that I am like literally signing for every class that there is out there, he is like, okay, I think we need to invest in something better. But I think it's just that joy of being outdoors, sharing the space with people that enjoy the outdoors and enjoy mountain biking and that empower you. Because I just did a ride like 3 weeks ago in a mountain I rode last year. And it was like my heart was filled because I'm riding and I was able to keep up. I never stopped. But last year I was stopping. And I remember every time I stopped and I said, I'm going back. I'm like, this is 2 years. I think it was 2 years. And I remember in every single step of the trail, the people that was with me and empowered me to keep going. So it was like, I was literally like, oh my gosh, there was this person with me, this person told me this person said this, and just inspired me to keep going. And here am I now, 2 years later, being able to ride this by myself.
So I'm familiar with the riding community, not because I'm a biker, not because I'm a rider myself, but because I'm part in terms, and I was still involved in, and very much was involved in like a much closer aspect with Latinos in BC. So they're an organization. Yeah. I'm sure you know who they are. Yeah. They're, so I myself live and reside part-time here in Northwest Arkansas. Actually, I live in Bentonville, the capital mountain biking of the world.
Oh my gosh. I'm
No, so I'm here. And I think I was just told that I think the Olympic mountain biking, like they're moving here or something like that to train here. I'm not even sure. Don't listen to me because it's all hearsay. It's all hearsay, right? From my perspective, but that's my understanding. So I do understand kind of what the biking world is and what it can change and what it can do for you. I talk to Latinos in BC all the time, and I know what their trajectories are. I know what their like pain points are, and I know what they're trying to do. But you who have started in a completely separate, different sort of, to say, group, right? Pero lo que estamos haciendo ahorita is that I'm speaking English, and then you're speaking English also, but with a very heavy accent. Cuando estás among Latinas, hay conversaciones que se dirigen, no tienes que pensar qué es lo que estás diciendo y si te van a entender o cómo traducir las palabras para que ellos, like, they can configure what it is that you're trying to say. And this is from the founders, Olivia, this is one of the conversations we have at the time, is that if there's something different that happens when people know your language and you're doing the same activities, then you're doing the same things that you can have small talk, right? And that you're enjoying it with people who get you, they understand you. And it's not just as simple as just talking Spanish, but understanding the culture a little bit. With saying all of that, and I understand mountain bike has changed your life. What is it? What is it to you to see a much more diverse community within the biking community?
It's so interesting because when we have the meetings, that is only for Latinas. So there is a lot of meetings, but there is 3. Unfortunately, there is only 3 a year. So we have those clinics. There is people from all over Spanish-speaking countries. And we have more, I'm not saying the same story, but pretty regular same stories that we did not ride our bikes in our countries for different reasons. And here we are, years later in this country, trying to start something new. And of course, like you said, speaking in Spanish. It's like, I told my husband like 2 months ago, I got a new job and the founder of the company is from Puerto Rico. And I'm like, Andrew, I'm so sorry, but I'm being successful because I am thinking and speaking in Spanish. Not that I am not successful in English, but there is a different switch that turns on when I am thinking and talking in my own language. And I hear what you're saying because that's when I know them, I talk to them, two of the team. I don't remember the names, but I imagine was Olivia. And that's what she said. Like, Gabriela, when people that looks like us see you and understand that you're a mom, that you're Latina, that you care for your kids, that you do this, and this, you inspire or get inspired by these people. And that's, I think, when we all feel that support of, we have been there in a way, we have been there, we have come here, we have struggled with getting used to this country, and now here we are sharing this space. So yes, it makes a difference. Speaking
It makes a difference.
Oh, totally.
So coming from the biking community there, um, I know I'm assuming they have a larger women mountain biking community also. How what would you like to see to change to be not necessarily just more inclusive with diverse backgrounds, but culturally also, right? So the culture nuances that don't shift, and we don't shift fast enough to understand what it is, but to feel truly welcomed into a community that's dominated by completely another, a completely different space, right? We lack already, right? Because we don't have the bikes, we can't afford the bikes. So we're behind, like, 20, 30 steps behind. But then to come into the space and then struggle with wanting to fit in, what would you say you would like the mountain biking community to do a little bit differently?
Here there is when combat, but again, unfortunately, only 3 clinics, and there is another organization, 2 more organizations that have the bikes and bring the bikes. So it's exactly what you said. Like, if I am working to provide for my family, and on top of that, I have to get money aside to buy a bike, it will be harder to do something like that, to commit to something like that, if I am not been, or I haven't been inspired or passionate about it. So I feel like the first thing that we have to do is give more opportunities for people to come and experience this, and to listen to stories that is possible, like Latinas in BC, or like there is many people, not just, but in this case, my story, like, I hear you. I was caring for a baby. I homeschool both my 2 kids, well, my 9-year-old. I homeschool, and I know there have been times that I think I have been writing with my head. I think I am so tired. But you need to take that space for you, and you deserve that space for you. You deserve to be in nature. You have the right to be in nature. You have the right to spend time with other women. And if you can bike, even better, share it up. Because I feel like we unfortunately forget about us. We focus in many things, but when you realize that if you get the time for you, you can be better at everything else. So what I would like to see is more clinics in Spanish. I will be volunteering this year with the Clinic for Latinas. More accessibility for sure for bikes. And just programs. Like, I am having an event in June 9th where I am trying to bring community. I am trying to bring all these organizations, regardless of what you do or who you are or where you come from or which language you speak. I just want to build community, because we all need from each other. We can all learn from each other, and we can all support. So I think that's my point right now. Speaking Spanish and bringing this in Spanish is like the most important thing.
I hear the frustration, when we live in these spaces, and we talk about the missing factors. We talk about the nuances, the belonging. The air just is different. You breathe differently, porque igual yo las entiendo más que hablo en español. O sea, just like my mom, Spanish was my first language. So I can immediately identify it. I know it. I understand it. I know what you mean. My response, I can think Spanish. My response is always going to be in English because it's something I dominate more now today, right? But when we talk about inclusivity, right? So we want to be inclusive to the rest of the world, right? But we also want to be inclusive to Latina women. And sometimes we feel like we're asking for too much. Like asking for too much for people to understand that we want to be not only invited, but welcomed without the hard invitation of like, you have to come. I'm like, I'll come if I feel welcomed. So there's that funkiness of like, okay, but you don't come because I don't feel welcome. Like, how do I tell you to build a space where it's not just about Spanish signs, it's about like, who else do you have there? How else are you welcome? What does it look like? What does your organization look like? Does it look like I can talk to somebody? Does it look like I can trust somebody? So when we talk about sports and including Latinas, I've heard what you had to say in terms of like, what would you like to see? But what would you like to like truly and honestly do? Because I know we need to get more involved to move our bodies. I understand that.
I think the first thing, childcare.
Childcare, absolutely, yes.
We cannot go to these places because who will care for our children? I'm like, that's a barrier for many people. So child. It clicked to me when someone explained something to me in Spanish. So let's have these places or these classes or these whatever in Spanish. And I think sometimes I hear you. It's hard. I did a race and I literally look around and I am married to a guy from the US. So I will be very careful because I have a son too. But all the people around me look differently than me, or I look differently to them. And when I found someone who looked like me, I literally, you should have seen me. I went with my back and I stand next to her and she's like, hi. I'm like, hi. She's like, you speak Spanish? I'm like, yeah. Hola. She was like, oh. And I told her, I am actually don't feel comfortable. Besides you, and clearly I can see you because we are different to the mass. That's why I came in to stand next to you. So I hear you. I
hear it. The guilt is heavy sometimes that you want to say, hey, look, it's just, but how do you say it? Because it definitely, the last thing we would ever want to do is be intolerable or be negative or be like, oh no, that can't happen for us, or I don't want to say this, or I don't want to say that. And it definitely not, but we still want to feel included. And I think for us, we're the first ones to make people feel included. We're the first ones to be like, well, you know, if Fulana needs this to be done, and you're like, absolutely, like, yes, give her what she needs and dale las cosas que necesita para darle a todo, para que disfrute la vida. Entonces, I don't know, we just want that in return. You know, it's not that we feel like we're entitled to it, but I feel like, you know, this would be nice. It would be nice to feel like, you know, if I look around, I'm going to see 10 Latinas with me in the race and be like, all right, you know, that I know that if I fall or if I curse in Spanish, that they're going to understand what I'm saying, and they're going to be like, she looks like that. She probably needs a little bit of help. Let's help her, you know? And, no, sometimes I feel like the American way is like, they'll figure it out. It's like, no, like sometimes Latinos are like, we'll figure it out together. This is together. Like, even though we're competing against each other, you get back on your bike, I get back on mine, and that, you know, with whoever wins first, it is what it is. But cuando los caemos, o sea, the immediate thing for us to do is, aunque estemos compitiendo entre nosotras, we still help each other. to get there. And I think the American way is she'll figure it out. You got to figure it out. You can't baby them. You can, I sometimes that happens. And I've seen that. I've actually witnessed a lot of that. It's where I'll see them. It's so foreign sometimes that they even record it when they help each other. And I'm like, sometimes that's natural. That comes natural. Not that it's not natural for them, but but when it's competitive, it's competitive. Like it is what it is, I say all of that to say this, Gabriela, that I think the space, not only in sports, but mountain biking, especially because I see las rodadas de mujeres, I do see the Latinas. Mountain biking, it's a little bit different because it's more difficult. Es más difícil. It's a lot more body upper strength. It's a lot more paying attention because it's riskier, right? You're going fast and you're going up and down those hills. And that I'm sure you've fallen many a times. And you've seen what can happen to these poor women and poor men too, my God. And it's more difficult. So kudos to all that you're doing. How do we invite, this is always the thing, how do we make sure we get the younger generation of Latinas to get excited to do what you're doing, to potentially like get excited about getting on a bike or go, doing the mountain biking, right? Smaller trails, of course, for kids.
I will say this note. I met an amazing woman and she does something completely different. Ice climbing. She's in the US team for ice climbing.
Wow.
And yes, I know. And the day she gave her talk, she's like, I didn't know. I met her and we didn't go deep. And then I invited her for an event and she gave her talk. And she said, I am the older one and the only Latina and the first Latina ever in a US team for ice climbing. And I am like, we are in a space, in a theater, and you look down and you look at the people who is sitting there and there is children. Maybe because of why I study as a teacher. I have been teachers for years. I believe on the power of stories. So I feel like I can tell you too much. I can do too much. You can see me too much. But let me share with you. Let me hopefully spark something in you with my story. Because I don't want you to come and get into a bike and fall and be disappointed and don't come back ever again to ride a bike because you fell in front of your teenager friends. I want you to understand that we all fall. And like you said, aquí estamos para ayudarnos. I will help you. Whenever you're ready, we will do it again. Because we tend to sometimes to compete or be worried about what if. So this is totally my opinion. I feel like if I get to inspire you and share with you that, like you said, yes, I have fallen but I like to share this story that I adore my grandmother and I was raised by my grandmother, as many of us see it, not all of us, but many of us see it. And she was like, se va a caer, se va a caer. And like, no haga eso porque se va a caer. I went to a Catholic school, so I have skirt. No haga eso porque la falda, y que parece como niña, y que bájese la falda, y que... So I never did anything. I was like that little doll that they put in a shelf, like just stay there and don't... It's better because you will not fall and you will not hurt, and I don't have to run and get miel to put you in a Vicks to put you on the thing. But now that I fall, it's so funny. I was sharing this. Now that I fall, I come back after every single time I ride. And I literally am like, okay, guys, let's see how many scratches I have. I am proud of my scratches because it frees me. And today I'm wearing a skirt and I have so many skirts. And I don't care. I walk with proud of them because I have earned my skirts. And that's the point. Like, we will fall literally in life with successes, with whatever, and we will fall from the bike and we have to stand up. And this might be a good way to see how it goes. And I like with biking because you always have to look ahead. You cannot look down because if you look down, you're going to go and smack your face down. Look up look ahead. And I think that's what I wish somebody when I was 12, 13, 14 would have told me. And I am not saying that I would have gotten a bike. And I am not saying that I would have started doing ice climbing, but maybe I would have started hiking. Doesn't matter. Find your community, find your friends that you feel comfortable with, or create your own community. And of course, you can always reach to me, and there is many people who are willing to share their story. There is Danny Reyes, there is Vanessa Chavarria, who are people who has beautiful stories to share. And I hopefully get inspired by that.
So before I let you go, I have just one last question. How is mountain bike riding? How would you say it? Mountain biking? How's
Yes.
mountain biking different from like all the other sports? And why is this one the one that you're really, really just passionate about?
I think I started with mountain biking. So it's funny because I started with mountain biking, and I have a
Okay.
mountain bike. And then I got a scholarship to do downhill. I am afraid of heights. I do not care for hikes. I dislike hikes. And I needed to take a chairlift to go to the top of the mountain to do downhill. And my poor husband is giving me therapy. He's like, it's going to be okay, because you have to put your bike, you have to run to the chairlift seat. And so I started doing downhill. And then I got into gravel biking. And then I do road biking. And I do fat tire biking. So I do on the spectrum of bikes. I will do anything and everything. I think if it has two wheels and it moves me from point A to point B, I will do it. Like, of course, I love mountain biking. And I think, well, many of them you're outside, but I think mountain biking, it was the first step into getting me to do biking. So I don't know if I have a favorite. Maybe I do more mountain biking because that's the group I hang out the most with. But I am doing many rides this year. One of them is going to be 70 miles in the coast of California, 40 miles one day and 30 miles the other day. And I have never done that. I think I'm going to be riding like pinch me because I don't believe I am doing this, but I got a scholarship. And of course, I always get I signed for a raffle. I don't know what I was thinking. I signed for a raffle, and then next thing you know, the person who was giving, it's like, you got the ticket. What? I'm like, I wasn't expecting to get the ticket. And got me into a race, the gravel race I was sharing with you, that I was the only two Latinas. And that one was 31 miles in the middle of winter. So, I share with you guys the picture. It was lower than 30 degrees. And I was like, I cannot feel my fingers. And you start thinking, what am I doing here? First of all, I didn't pay for the ticket. So if I don't go, I don't care. But then you start seeing these sceneries of like the fog coming up because it's very, very foggy, and literally, and the horses. And 2 weeks before that, a month before that event, I gather. I am a gathering. I gather 9 panelists with different beautiful stories. And one of them is a guy from Colombia who did with another guy from Brazil. They tried to follow on bike the path that the Incas did from Bolivia to Peru. So we are he's a panelist, and he said many things, but then at the end he says, and then this woman who put together this event, but besides that, she's a mom. And just fill my heart with knowing that, yes, I struggled. Yes, I was sleep deprived trying to put the event together. But anyways, I'm riding on that race and I see him and he screamed. And that day I find out that you can scream in Spanish. Don't ask me why, but you can scream in Spanish. And he screamed to me in Spanish and I screamed back to him in Spanish. And I said, I am doing this. So it's finding that people that just literally are with pom-poms telling you, vamos, para arriba, vamos, lo podemos hacer y yo estoy aquí para ayudar.
Ok, Gabriela, porque yo puedo hablar de esto porque cuando escucho tu historia me recuerdo de Vero, que es una líder en Latinas en BC. me platicó de la vez que fue, was it a race? Not sure what it was, but it's the 60 mile one,
You
the
did.
60 miles. And she said she did it. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I don't want to ride a bike for a mile. Se platicó de como que se le ponchó la llanta and she carried it on her thing and she ran to go get it fixed really quick to get back on the race and to go to whatever. And I was like, who does that? I would have started crying on the side of the road. I'm not going to pick up the bike and put it on my back to take it to go get the tire fixed. I would just sit there and cry. No, I would cry. I did, come pick me up. I don't know what happened. Like that's, but entonces when I see her and I hear her and I'm like, you know, there's like, it sounds like como que it's a little bit differently and you feel more like ti misma en su diferente persona de no sé, mujer interna que es un poquito más fuerte. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think I see what they're doing. They haven't got me on a bike yet, not just yet, because I'm very much. So I hear these stories, these amazing leader stories. So to send you on your way so you can get back to your life is my last question. My last question is, do you consider yourself a leader? Una líder. ¿Por qué o por qué no?
I will say I think so. I do believe and I do consider myself a leader. I feel like this is an analogy I'm going to do. I feel like there is a jungle. I am walking in the jungle in Guatemala and there is a path and I have a machete. 2 years ago, I learned how to get the machete. And I'm like, okay, guys, let's go for it. And it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy at all. I have gotten 200 no's before I got one yes. And when I got that yes built into the next yes, and then the next yes, and then the next yes. And then after 10 yes, when I got a no, I was like, I don't care. So I feel like I got those 200 no's. And going back to my analogy in the jungle, I can be like, yeah, this one is tricky one, guys, but we will get it down and it will be easier. I have a daughter. I have a son. I want both of them to have the same possibilities. I brought many other kids to have the same, or have it a little bit easier. So I am not saying, I may not be able to take that big root or that big liana hanging out from the tree, but I will try and I will grab your hand and be like, let's go. So yeah, if I use it in that analogy, that's what my brain is telling me right now. I feel like I hope I am doing something for someone else behind me, for many people who has done it for me. And I hope that's what I can leave. And people be like, oh yeah, Gabriela Jairo, she called Ileana for me.
I think so. I think definitely you're leading the space for younger generations to be able to see what it is building the path forward. Pero bueno, with that being said, is there anything that you would like to add that I did not ask?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me the space, your time, your smile, and your Spanish to share who am I, to share my story, because again, if we have many stories, we can choose from those many stories that we want to listen. But if we don't have no story, there is nowhere to choose from. When you talk in Spanish, it fills my heart. When I came to this country, the first class I took, it was accent reduction. I wanted to get rid of my accent. I wasn't successful, literally, because I feel like I didn't know who I was. I came to this country after graduating from college, and I felt like I have succeeded everything, and all my parents' expectations. Oh yeah, she graduated, and after she graduated college, and then she got a job, and she had an amazing job, and then she married. So blah 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 blah. I am proud of her. So I come and try to find my space. Take this class. I met my best friend there, an Italian woman. Sorry. And I feel like when I really discovered who I was, I said, I have an accent and I'm making sure you know I have an accent. And when you do that, you know what? Al carajo con todos. And if they don't understand me, I can do mimics. And if they don't, I can Google it and put it to them. But I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. This is who am I. I am proud of who am I. And I'm here to hopefully inspire someone.
I think you're doing an amazing job of inspiring, definitely, for sure. The fact that you're there, that you're taking space in that mountain biking community exactly, fully, completely as who you are and who you choose to be. I think it goes beyond even me congratulating her. There's no need for congratulations. It's more of a like, thank you for existing, Gabriela. Thank you for coming onto this space. Thank you for coming onto the space and talking about all the things and all the love that you have for such a specific topic. But the fact that you're taking up space, because it felt so coveted for a very long time, and especially I still hear the conversation, but I think you leading the way and other Latinas leading the way are doing an amazing job.
There is many, and thank you to you too. Again, like we all shine in our own place. And when we all shine literally like little luciérnagas, we make the sky more beautiful. And even the luciérnagas shine at night, and we can use that. Yeah, it might be dark, but you know what? We are shining. We are finding each other.
Yes. I hope to see you here in Arkansas and Bentonville, the mountain capital. I hope to see you here. I definitely hope to meet you in person. I think this was an amazing conversation. Muchas gracias for coming on here. Sinceramente, gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Martioch.
With that being said, we'll see you next time.
What did you think of the conversation? If you enjoyed what you heard, let us know in the comments. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you for listening to the Latina Leadership Podcast, and we will see you next time.